Alright, I'm finally back and I'm working with 4 hours of sleep and a stuffed nose, so please bear with me. Today we're going to have an unboxing and review of the BGVP Phantom. This is a 1 dynamic, 2 BA, 2 EST, and 2 bone conduction driver set of IEMs, retailing for $900, and let's get into it. Yep, that is a hell lot of drivers and a hell lot of different type of drivers. Lots of technology going on here, lots of cool stuff, so let's get into it. I take that sleeve off. BGVP, the best experience. It's actually my first set I've ever gotten from this company, and so starting off with one of their higher end sets is kind of interesting. Alright, so you got the IMs here and lots of cat hair because I have a cat. Take these out. There's also a lot of weird things with the shell that we'll get into in a second. So you have the tips in here. I actually, since I've already opened this and I got these actually used, I don't remember where the tips were originally. So I just put them in this part of the box and I hope this is where they are originally. Let's get these out, come on. Foam tips and these tips. So I haven't been reviewing stuff in a while for 2 reasons. 1, I was busy as hell. And 2, there's so many damn tunings on this thing. Well, not tunings, but you know, tips. That I wanted to cover, that I really had to go in depth with these things. So let's take this out now. Got a little bit of a, like one of those instruction manuals. This one's made with like that nice paper, because of course it is. $900 better be made with like the best of everything, I guess, but I don't think that's useful. And we got the case with the cable inside and a QC card. Alright, let's close that and put it off the side. Alright, let's take the cable out. We'll take a look at that in a second. Case first, real quick. I mean, BGVP and some art of BGVP's logo on the side. It's a bit big. Of course, you know I'm going to say that. This is too big to put in your pocket. But then again, this is a $900 set. I don't really see, at least myself, wearing that around outside too much. But I guess some people would. I'm not going to. But even for like a backpack, I wouldn't like this because this is like a pretty weak like way of closing. I mean, I can't shake it open, but I just still wouldn't feel comfortable just throwing this in my backpack. I'd probably want something a little bit with a stronger method of closing, like a zipper or a latch or something like that. But I mean, it's a case, whatever. But yeah, I'd rather have something nicer. And I want everything perfect. It's $900, okay? Anyway, let's take a look at the cable. The cable is good. It's good. Oh, I forgot to mention that this is detachable. Let me actually get the other attachment. I know, very professional of me, I know. There we go, I got it. Alright, it does come with these little, it came both in this bag. Let's take this out. Anyway, see if my camera would like to focus today. Oh, it does. So yeah, I actually really like these connectors. Let's talk about that for now. Take this out. And here's the cable. I really like these connectors because it's not like super thick and long. Like usually these connectors they end up like when you connect them. Let me see this here. It comes and it's only this length, which is really nice for like a modular cable. Usually modular cables, like when you attach the what do you call it, the end the connector to like the cable itself, it ends up being like this long because they have to have like the actual like part to attach to. But they managed to make a pretty like reasonably sized one, and it's very high quality, all metal. I really like it, and it stays on here pretty nicely. So overall, that is a great aspect of the cable. Okay, I'm gonna put that off to the side. Not necessary right now. So the cable itself, I think it's nice. I don't think it's the best cable on the planet, but I don't think it's has really many major issues. I do find that this part tends to tangle a little bit, like when like in this like kind of motion, because it's kind of has like a little bit of memory, a little bit, not a lot, but a little bit. It's a smooth cable overall, though. I like this cable. I am using this cable with the IEMs just because I like it. It's just a good cable. So yeah, put that aside now. Okay, tips. One thing before I get into comfort well, actually, let's go into comfort first. I found these to be very comfortable with all the tips. I don't use foam tips though, so that just goes off to the side. I don't like foams, so we're really going to be talking about these 3 here. Now, this is a very comfortable set of IEMs. I don't know how they fit all of these drivers in such a small set, but they managed. And it's impressive. It's very comfortable. Let's see if I have an IEM for comparison close by. Here is the, I guess we'll go with the Tri-Meteor because I like to use the Tri-Meteor for size comparisons. Here, let me see if this will focus. Here's the Tri-Meteor. This is a pretty standard like shape. The Kiwi Ears Quartet uses a very similar shell. A lot of IEMs use this shell, and it is pretty much the same size, even maybe smaller than this, which is really impressive. I think that it's really cool that they managed to get so many drivers in such a small shell. So that's really nice. Alright, also I wanted to mention this is MMCX, and they did not include an MMCX removal tool, which was just really disappointing overall. If you don't know what an MMCX removal tool is, it looks like this. It pretty much is used to, when you got the cable on, to just do this so it detaches straight up so you don't bend the pin inside. A lot of people don't like MMCX due to problems with the, why is my camera tilted? Problems with the durability over time, and that is because people are just pulling on the connector, which can bend the pin in the middle. I personally find MMCX to be the nicest connector because it is very firm on its connection and it won't disconnect. I've had two pins just like over time, you know, the pin like sockets get looser and so just fall off and I'm gone. The IEM's gone forever. Just get lost when you're going outside and stuff like that. So I like MMCX, but a lot of people don't, and that's understandable. Now, you may have noticed, if you're very observant, that this is changing color. And you're like, what the hell? Is your camera, like, screwed up? What the hell happened? No. So, these have thermo color changing resin. I saw a lot of sites say it's wood. It's not wood, but I do understand why you'd have that confusion. The color is really wood-like pattern, and it's actually very beautiful. I am both not heated up and heated up. If you can see here, this one I have not been touching with my hand as much, but this one, you know, I've been holding it, and to my body heat, it's been changing color. This is actually just the default color and the only color it comes in, and it looks wonderful to me, and I actually think it really fits the name Phantom. It's not like a lot of other IEMs where it's just like the IEM and like a bunch of numbers or something like representing the amount of drivers. Nope, just BGVP Phantom. And I think it looks really good. And the color changing is really unique. And it's nice because when you put these in your ears with the body temperature just changes the color of the set to like this. And I just think that's a really cool, neat little touch. And, you know, you're getting something really expensive, and it's cool to have just little add-ons here and there. Okay, let's get on to the tips and the sound. The most annoying thing about the set, I'll get into right now, is that there is no, what do you call it? What is it called? There's no little like a lip on the end of the nozzle to hold the tips. If I get the what's it called, the Meteor again, you see how it's kind of like bends up and becomes wider at the end, so that the tip, when you put it on, holds on to it. Now let me show you something. This is the tip that I use the most on this set, and it is the wide bore base tip. We'll get into that in a second. So I put this on. I just touch it a few times, and it falls. And this does not happen with other IEMs, of course. You see, the reason is because this is just going down. There's a tiny little lip, tiny little lip. You can only feel it with your fingernail. And so that's not going to hold these tips. It holds some of the other tips a little better. It still doesn't hold them well, though. So a lot of times I take these out of my ears and the tips stay in my ear. And if you've ever had a tip stay in your ear that's been inserted deeply in your ear, it is quite scary, at least to me, that this tip is just going into your ear. This one, luckily, they have a shallow fit for me. And so the tip is not deep in my ear, so it just falls out or just sits in my ear and you can just take it out with your hand. But don't get tips stuck in your ears, guys. It's not good. It's really difficult to take out, and it can cause hearing damage if it ends up too deep in your ear. But with these, that shouldn't be a problem. They don't go deep enough in your ear for that to happen. But just be careful, especially if you're using these tips in this size, that the tips will come off a lot when you put them in your ear. At least that happened to me, so that was my biggest complaint about the set. Now, enough of my rambling about other things unrelated to the sound. We're 10 minutes in and I haven't even talked about sound yet. Let's talk about sound. As you can see, 3 sets of tips, 3 different tunings. We have the bass tips, the vocal tips, and the balance tips. And I'm going to get into the sound of each one now. Let me see why my camera is not focused. There we go. So, I'm going to talk about the balance set first because everybody wants to try the balance first, right? You hear balance tips, you think that's the one this is advertised for, right? So, the balance tips. I found this to be a very safe but very good tuning. These IEMs have beautiful detail on all the tips, beautiful imaging, really amazing quality. I'm throughout this review going to praise the hell out of these. And if you see my channel, you know I don't like doing that. I don't like saying this is the best thing ever, all this stuff. I'm not like that. I don't like to do that. On this channel, I am very harsh in my reviews. And I'm going to be harsh to these too. I will tell you what's wrong with these. But overall, this is an amazing set. And even at $900, this lives up to the cost. Now, the balance set. It's good. I like it. It's, as it says, balanced. I find that, like, it's got a decent amount of bass, good amount of highs, good extension, decent soundstage up to here. But I wouldn't say it's the best that these can do. We'll get into the other sets, but this is a very safe tuning. It's never going to sound harsh. It's never going to sound boring either. But it's going to be safe. It's safe. It's enjoyable, but it's not special sounding. It's just generic good IEM. That's what it sounds like to me. And I don't know why my camera is just messing up so much. And there's not much to talk about, really. I mean, in general, the bass quality on this thing is some of the best I've heard on a hybrid or in general. Just the bass, the quality of the bass. Great texture, great punch, great everything. It's amazing. It's never overwhelming. It's really just incredible stuff. These IEMs, overall, with all of the... We'll talk about this later. But with these 2 tips, okay? I liked them so much that my brain didn't compare them to other IEMs. I started to think, these are good. They're not that great. Because my brain switched to comparing these to over-ear headphones, which I find to be much better quality sounding in general. So my brain was comparing these to just either multi-$1,000 IEMs, like an Oli VX or something like that, and then over-ear headphones instead of other IEMs. It just happened. It just switched. And then I went to go listen to the Awful Performer 8, and I just immediately was listening to man, where is the closest trash can? Because this sounds like garbage. But I do like the Performer 8, don't get me wrong, especially for the price. But this is another level. This is another level on all fields. Soundstage wise, especially on these tips, which we'll get into in a second, is immense. Fantastic staging. I didn't think it was possible in an IEM for this stage. It's like here. Like it's over-ear headphone stage. Honestly, over-ear headphone stage. And it has incredible imaging and depth. Really amazing stuff. Now, the stage is wide in like left, right, but in front and in the depth of it, it's not the widest thing. It's still wider than like majority of IEMs I've ever heard in my life. But the layering is amazing. Like you can tell this thing is in front of this thing, but they're in the same, spot when it comes to like around it. It's incredible. It's incredible. Really. Now these have flaws, and we're gonna get into those. Don't think I'm just gonna be trying to sell this thing to you, okay? I don't make money when you buy this thing. But this has incredible staging and imaging. Some of the best. If you want to game on these, do it. Do it. Easy. Amazing gaming experience. Want to watch movies? Amazing for movies. Music. Incredible. So, staging, imaging, fantastic. Now, let's talk about vocal presentation, the way they present the vocals. Now, this is going to depend on the tip now. So, on the vocal ear tips, shouty, messy, not good. I don't like the way the vocals sound on this thing. They are close, and I like how close it is, but it just like the highs get harsh, and it's not a good experience overall with the vocal ear tips. I know this is a messy review. I just can't organize this all in my head. The vocal ear tips just don't have. It's just not good. I just don't like them. So majority of this review is going to be on these two tips. The highs are harsh, the bass is completely recessed, and the bass is one of the best things about this set, one of the things I like the most. It really does incredible quality bass, and this is just removes it almost. The staging does get smaller with these as well. I feel like this is just made to ruin the IEM, so that's not useful. No. So with these two though, vocal presentation. Here you're going to get very nice centered vocals that come, like, let's say here's your head, it's like here. It's not as forward as the Performer 8 or the Pen on 10th or something like that, which has very, very forward vocals, but it's not recessed, it's not pushed back, it's a great distance for the majority of people. For me, I really like up in front, close vocals. This doesn't have that with either of these tips. The balance pushes it a little bit further back than the bass tips. I actually found that the bass tips did a lot of different stuff other than just increase the bass. No, it didn't do that. It does other things too. It does have more bass than this, but not by a lot. It's not like a bass heavy set in any way. When I say that the bass is amazing, it's not because like, damn, these are shaking my ears with the bass. No, it's because the quality is incredible. Incredible quality of bass. Like good headphone level quality of bass. In an IEM, shocking. Honestly shocking. And it took me a while to get used to this IEM. As I said, when I first started listening to this thing, I was comparing it to just ridiculous proportions. And then when I actually went and just listened to other things that were not headphones, to compare to this, it was just a massacre. It was just like it was just a complete massacre. I listened to the Performer A, I listened to the Pen on 10th. I love those IEMs. My reviews were highly positive, and they still will be, because just price range, and I don't know why some truck just had to do that in the middle of my review. Anyway, just the for the price, those are excellent. But this is for $900, excellent for $900. Like, it's really hard for me to justify paying a very high amount of money for IEMs. I don't know. I always just found my brain to think, man, this small thing is just, I have to pay almost $1,000 for this. Like, I mean, and I'm really into audio. I love audio, and so, but even for me, I'm just like, man, $900. But for $900, this is a deal in my brain, and I don't know how. Anyway, let me talk about vocals now. I actually there was a cut. I don't know if I'm gonna make that smooth or not. So I don't know what I said and didn't say. So if I repeat myself, I'm sorry. Anyway, so vocal presentation. The bass tips have the best vocal presentation to me. I'm someone who's obsessed with really close-up vocals, like HD 650 intimate vocals. So, and I know most people are not like that. And so these will not give you that with either of these tips. And for me, that's a downside. For you, maybe an upside. But I think it's a very balanced presentation of the vocals, especially with the bass tip. I think the bass tips have a pretty moderate location for the mids. That's not too close, not too far away. The balance tips, they push it a little bit further, but it's not too much of a difference. I do think I like the bass tips a lot more than the balance. You probably can tell throughout my review what I've been saying. I think that because the reason I like the bass tips is it actually sounds more balanced to me than the balance tips. I think the balance tips, they kind of push down the mid range a little bit, kind of increase the bass, the instrumentals, it's just the upper mid range is increased a little bit, but it's not harsh. It's smoother sounding than the bass ear tips. The bass ear tips, it sounds a little bit more raspy in the mid range compared to the balance, but it's not enough to pull me from the bass tips into the balance tips. I really love the bass tips. And the stage increase from the bass tips to from the balance tips make it, even though it's not a huge difference, it makes it from really good to mind bending. Because this is right on the edge, and this is it pushes over the end. The bass tips, and the bass tips, I will say, don't have as good layering and depth as the balance tips. But that's also by a small margin. the bass tips, they expand the stage in a way that I haven't heard in an IAM before. So I'm only going to talk about the bass tips now, because that's what I really used for these things the most. And as always, I forgot something, and I'm going to try to cut this in somewhere in the video. Spin fits. How do they sound? Because I know I put spin fits in almost all my reviews. I didn't find them necessary for comfort reasons when I was using these small bass tips. I find the small bass tips to be very comfortable. Compared to maybe the balance tips and the vocal tips, I'd say that spin fits are more comfortable. And I do like the silicone on spin fits a lot. The sound-wise, I find it somewhere in between the bass and balance ear tips, but I actually didn't like that as much as the balance tips or the bass tips themselves, because it's kind of like compromising a lot. I wasn't a fan of the sound with the spin fits, so I didn't use them. Get out of the frame. Anyway, and then another thing is that with these, I usually don't like to tip roll. I don't like tip rolling, and I don't like switches. I want an IEM that just sounds good out of the box. That's my thing, especially because I listen to a lot of IEMs all the time. I understand if you have one IEM, you want to try a bunch of tunings. That's really awesome and fun. For me, I want one IEM, sounds good out of the box. And this is the first IEM I think that I ever had that made me excited to tip roll, because I was just listening to all the tips, and all the tips except those vocal tips, but we just ignore those existence. Like these tips, some other tips I tried, all sounded good. These are just, I think these are made to make things sound bad though. Just ignore that they exist. But yeah, these are the only IEMs I've ever had that I actually wanted to tip roll with. So I'm going to be having fun with that in my spare time. Anyway, back to wherever the hell this goes. Now I'm going to try to wrap this up as fast as I can. But I do want to say, when I was listening to these with the bass tips, and I was, I like to pace sometimes when I test my IEMs, pacing. And I'm listening a track, and I listen to a lot of music all the time with lots of IEMs, and there are certain tracks, especially in rock music, that I know sound harsh on almost everything, and because there's a lot going on in one part of the song, and I was getting ready for that part to play, because I said these do have a little bit slightly harsh upper mid range to treble. And I was bracing myself, kind of getting ready to lower the volume in case this, this is going to hurt my ears. And this thing separated it beautifully. Instead of, I'm used to a little bit of meshing together, even though, of course, I listen to many things with really great separation in IEMs, but this separated it beautifully. It was honestly just mind-bending, really. That track made me fall in love with these IEMs. I don't even remember what track it was, because then I started listening to other tracks that had that similar thing for me, and they all started doing that. And it became one of those IEMs over time that you'll be doing something and you really should take these out and do what you have to do, but you're just like, just give me one more song, just give me another one, and that would just keep happening, and that's when I knew I'm keeping this for a long time. I really like this set, and I did say I was gonna try to pick out as many flaws as I can, and the flaws I can pick out is that it doesn't have a lip, at least a big enough one. This is just microscopic. I don't know if I can even get the lip on camera to hold the tips, and that was almost a reason for me to sell these, because the tip is just not holding on to this thing. And another thing with IEMs is that the convenience, put it in on your ear, put it out of your ear really quick. These, you kind of got to be careful. You slowly take it out so the tip doesn't just stay in your ear, and then the tip will still stay in your ear anyway, because it's really annoying. But the sound was just good enough to cover that issue. And then also the treble, I would like the treble to be a little bit smoother. That's what I would like, a little bit smoother and a little bit less pronounced in the upper treble and the upper mid range. And I would like the mid-range of the male vocals to be a little bit more pronounced. I find that they're a little bit pushed back, and overall I would like vocalists to be a little bit more forward, but that's for me. That's what I want. But I think that overall this is incredible. Again, those are all extreme nitpicks. This is one of the best IEMs I've ever heard. Period. End of story. And I really would recommend, if you're looking in the market for a $900 IEM, this is what I recommend right here. I hope this video helped out, and see ya.